Imagine a horror icon like Freddy Krueger, the dream-stalking killer with his razor-gloved hand and wicked grin, being stuck in limbo for over a decade and a half. Doesn't that just scream frustration for fans worldwide? That's exactly what's happening with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and it's high time we dive into why. But here's where it gets controversial. Actor Robert Englund, the man who brought Freddy to life in 8 films, has shared his take on the endless delay, revealing a tangled mess of legal entanglements that might surprise you. Let's unpack this step by step, making sure even newcomers to the slasher genre can follow along easily. It's now been a solid 15 years since audiences saw a fresh Nightmare on Elm Street entry hit theaters, with the last one being the 2010 reimagining of Wes Craven's groundbreaking 1984 original. For context, Craven was the visionary director who crafted this tale of a vengeful spirit terrorizing teens through their nightmares. Think of it as a blend of psychological horror and supernatural thrills that set the standard for slashers. Englund, who portrayed Freddy in most of those films, even made a cameo as the character in a 2018 episode of the sitcom The Goldbergs. But that's been the extent of his recent on-screen appearances. Fans have been left with slim pickings, and the question lingers, why the long wait? Fortunately, Englund has provided some clarity from his perspective. Englund recently earned his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a well-deserved honor for his iconic 2-decade portrayal of Freddy. In a chat with IndieWire to celebrate this milestone, he touched on the stagnation of a new film. He attributes much of the delay to complicated rights issues, which intensified after Craven's passing in 2015. For beginners, rights in filmmaking are like ownership claims over a story's elements, characters, plots, titles, and more. When a creator dies, their estate, usually family or heirs managing their legacy, can inherit these rights, complicating things for studios trying to reuse the property. Englund explained it this way: there are so many people involved who have a piece of the action. When Wes passed away, he left an awful lot of rights to his estate. He has many rights that he worked out between character titles and names and plot and things like that. New Line Cinema obviously has a big hand in it, and much of that was surrendered to Ted Turner, then went to Warner Bros., so Warner Bros. Has a huge piece of it. I know Michael Bay had been involved with some interest and also Blumhouse. Englund has stated he won't reprise Freddy in live-action films, at least because at 77, he's simply too old for the physically demanding role. That said, his history with the franchise gives him unique insight beyond what a casual observer might have. And this is the part most people miss. These rights disputes aren't unique to Elm Street. They've plagued other horror series too. Like Friday the 13th, which stalled for over 15 years after its 2009 remake. Despite that film being a box office hit, coordinating among various stakeholders can be a real headache. In this scenario, Craven's estate, Warner Bros., the major studio behind the original films, Michael Bay's Platinum Dunes production company, and possibly others, would all need to negotiate and agree on terms. Englund mentioned Blumhouse, the studio led by Jason Blum, who has expressed enthusiasm for reviving Elm Street. Blumhouse is known for revitalizing horror properties on a budget, like their work on films such as Get Out or the Purge series. So their interest makes sense, but enthusiasm alone doesn't cut it. Aligning everyone's interests is the real hurdle. Rumors of another reboot have circulated since 2015, right after Craven's death, but nothing concrete has emerged. Beyond legal tangles, creative challenges add another layer. The 2010 remake, which cast Jackie Earle Haley, known from Watchmen, as a more grounded, menacing Freddy, faced heavy criticism for lacking the original's inventive scares and psychological depth. Critics often pointed out it felt more like a straightforward slasher than the mind-bending nightmare fuel Craven pioneered. Yet it raked in $117 million worldwide on a $35 million budget, proving it was a financial win. Englund, ever the diplomat, doesn't fault the remake for dooming the series. Instead, he feels it came too soon, perhaps before audiences were ready to revisit Freddy without the freshness of the originals. As he put it in that same interview, "I think the remake was premature. I love a lot of the actors in the movie, so I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I just think the timing was off." This view could spark debate. Is remaking a beloved classic inherently risky? Or should studios experiment more boldly to keep franchises alive? Some might argue that the 2010 version's success shows there's still appetite for Freddy, while others believe it diluted the character. What do you think? Does timing trump execution in reboots, or is something else at play? For now, the franchise's path forward is murky. In the meantime, Warner Bros. Has made the original 7 films available in stunning 4K remasters, perfect for revisiting Craven's terrifying vision. It seems almost certain Freddy will claw his way back eventually, but until these competing interests untangle, he's caught in a nightmarish standoff. If you're a horror buff, you might want to snag the A Nightmare on Elm Street 7-film collection on 4K from Amazon. But let's talk. Do you agree with Englund that rights issues are the main blocker? Or is there a deeper problem with how studios handle legacies like this? And should franchises like Elm Street be rebooted at all, or let the original stand untouched? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to hear if you've got a different take.